Welcome to UPLEVEL, Real Health, Real Talk with Dr. Jenna Blasi. I'm Dr. Jenna. I spent years crafting ways to help women thrive, and I want to help you do the same. On this podcast, we dive deep into health at every level, focusing on the mind, the body, and the spirit. This is where real conversations meet transformational wellness. We'll be talking about all the things that truly matter, from nutrition and fitness to lifestyle, mindset, and personal development. Plus, the real deal on managing stress and navigating menopause. So if you're ready to elevate your health journey with authentic, transformative insights, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to UPLEVEL, Real Health, Real Talk. I'm Dr. Jenna, and today we are going to dive into self-image, as I promised last time. So I have seen this is such an important topic because I've seen over and over again in my patients and the people that I work with, and of course in myself too, that the real transformation doesn't come from the things we do. It doesn't come from just diet or a new workout. It comes from how you see yourself. And so today we're going to dive into self-image, and I have seen this be what I would say the often overlooked factor that can really make or break your health and your life transformation, because we can never outperform our self-image. So I'll be working, a lot of this is from Maxwell Maltz's psychocybernetics, which if you want to do a really deep dive into your self-image, if you know this is a bigger issue for you, even if it's not, actually, it's a great book. It's a great book. So what is self-image? Self-image is a mental blueprint of who you believe you are. It's not just your self-esteem. It's not just your confidence. It's how you see yourself. We cannot go higher than how we see ourselves to be. We have to create that image of the bigger version of ourselves. And even from a research angle, they've found that people, for example, who identify as non-exercisers, they're less likely to sustain fitness habits, even when they enjoy the activity. So identity is stronger than motivation. So many people are like, I'm not motivated. I'm not motivated. We have to break the cycle of seeing ourselves a certain way. I'm a procrastinator. I don't exercise. I'm this, I'm that. Someone who says maybe I'm a night owl. Well, maybe you could work on, if you'd like to shift that and have better sleep, I am someone who prioritizes sleep. The woman who says, I've always had a slow metabolism. Let's not keep speaking. Remember, what we speak today becomes our reality. And what we believe today is based on the past. But as Mary Morrissey said, your past does not determine your future unless you let it. So be the bigger version of yourself that you want to be. So instead of speaking into existence that, for example, you have a slow metabolism, say, I'm someone who fuels my metabolism with strength and nourishment. Again, you're changing your identity. You're also affirming. And we're going to get into why this is important, because the subconscious doesn't know fact from fiction. So the more that we say things, that's why so many of the thoughts we have in our head are not true. If a child is told that they're not smart, they're going to grow up believing they're not smart, but it's not true. All right. Our minds are capable of all types of things. And it really starts with that belief and that self-identity. So obviously I do a lot of health and transformation. I have mindset mentorship programs and such. And so the topic we talked about last time with plateau, self-image matters in health and it matters in your transformation. So often people stall, not because the plan stops working, but because their self-image hasn't caught up to their new habits. And without a shift in your self-image, we're going to snap back to those old patterns. This is yo-yo dieting. This is abandoning routines, because you may have in your mind that you've always been the, quote unquote, chubby one. And so even as you start releasing weight and having success, you will go back unless you work on actively creating a new image, creating a new identity. And that's what's really fascinating about psychocybernetics is, the story of a plastic surgeon who found that some people, even once, let's say they got a new nose, if they didn't change their identity, they were still the same person with the same issues. And then for other people, it was like, boom, like I'm good. They didn't identify with those pieces. So When we're looking at rewiring the brain, remember neuroplasticity in brain studies is a real thing. And so it's repeated thoughts, it's repeated actions that wire new patterns. And then, of course, the way that we think, well, maybe not, of course, to you, but if you've listened to me for a while, stress and self-talk, they influence your hormones. They influence your cortisol. They influence your choices and ultimately your results. So how we think, how we speak affects how we see the world. It affects the choices we make. It affects our hormones and ultimately affects our results. So let's talk about how to shift this. How do we rewire the self-image? I want to give you like practical, hopefully empowering steps. I mean, they are empowering if you do them. So number one always starts with awareness. It's awareness. Everything starts with awareness. Notice how you describe yourself. Do you find yourself saying several times a day, I'm always tired. I'm bad with food. I have no willpower. I have no motivation. Catch these statements. Catch these identity statements. Another one of my podcasts that you could go back and listen to is the one on growth mindset versus fixed mindset, where in the fixed mindset, we're taking in a failed experiment, let's say, as our identity. So catch these things and then reframe them. Shift from, I'm trying to whatever, right? As Yoda said, there is no try, only do, to I am the kind of person who, when I do my affirmations, it's, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am, boom, 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 all of the qualities of the person I see myself as, the bigger, better version of myself. And so when you say I'm trying to eat better, it's a little bit weak, right? You can hear that like, I'm trying to eat better. Sometimes I'll ask people, how often do you go to the gym? They're like, well, I try to go 3-4 times a week. And I'm like, what does that mean? How many times do you actually go? They could say like, I aim to go and this is what I really do. But how about I'm someone who fuels, so back to I try to eat better. I'm someone who fuels my body wisely. I'm someone who fuels my body wisely, or just shift in like you're not trying, because when we're trying, it's like the goal is way over here and we're down here. You're not one with it. The moment that you fuse with your belief, everything starts to change. So this is where like visualization and emotional rehearsal come in. Imagine yourself already living in that identity. Your brain can't tell the difference. The subconscious brain, where the repetition is getting planted into, can't tell the difference between imagined and real rehearsal. And I've talked about this in lots of episodes. I mean, studies where they've had people learn the piano just mentally in their head, and then they see that they've rewired their brains and they can play better. And the folks rehearsing shooting the basket into the hoop versus actually practicing it had very little difference in their improvement from just the rehearsal. So imagine you put those together. You mentally rehearse, you visualize, and you take action. You step into that identity. And it also, the subconscious brain can't tell the difference between present and past. That's why we've got to let go of rehashing the past and be celebrating as if it's already here. It doesn't know. And then the outside will start to bend. The outside will start to conform to your beliefs. So I encourage you to celebrate the small wins as identity proof. Every rep, every choice is evidence. See, I am this person. But what we usually do is the opposite. That's that self-fulfilling prophecy. That's that reticular activating system going to prove whatever you believe. So if you believe you're a failure, you'll find proof of that. See, I did it again. I always do. I always fall off. I always make mistakes. I always whatever. Switch and get that rehearsal of winning. Get that rehearsal of who you want to be and find proof of that. Remember, if we go looking for bad in the world, we'll find it. If we go looking for good, we'll find it. Abundance is everywhere. So is the opposite. So we find what we perceive to be true. So begin to believe that you are that person and then celebrate the evidence that you find for it. Now, let's talk about some common blocks and how to break them. Some of us have a fear of being someone new. I've seen people worried about what other people are going to think. Friends and family may resist the changes. And honestly, when you start changing, maybe eating better, moving your body, being a better version, healthier version of yourself, it can be threatening to the people who are close to you. It can be threatening that they feel you're changing too much. It can be threatening because they're not changing. So it's actually not even about you, rarely is, right? But they're projecting because somehow your healthy eating is judging them because they haven't changed yet. So are you afraid of being this other version of yourself? Really look at that piece. And then imposter syndrome, that's a real thing, particularly with entrepreneurs, with people that are ambitious. But it also can show up with like, who am I to be fit? Who am I to be energetic and healthy? If, who am I to go to college or whatever, if nobody in your family has done that before? And that's that imposter syndrome, and also, fear of change. And then the old stories. Sometimes I have to say to people, are you going to keep giving into this story? This is just who I am. I was working with this woman once and she said, like, my mom is so negative. That's why I'm the way I am. And she was probably in her 50s, maybe 60s. And I was like, well, but you're so unhappy. Like, this doesn't have to be. You get to choose at any age. You get to choose who you are. Do you want to be your mom? Do you want to be negative? She was like avoiding spending time with her mom. So her mom was always so negative. But then she was allowing herself to live that way. Well, this is just who I am because of my mom. No, you can be whoever you want. So let's get rid of these old stories. The only limitations we have are in our own brains. It's never too late. It's never too late. So really focus on your self-image. Your past self-image doesn't dictate your future. You can rewrite the script at any time. You can rewrite the script. And this quote, cannot remember whose it was. The moment your belief matches with any state, you fuse with it. The moment your belief matches with any state. So who you want to be, get that belief. I am this person. And the moment that your belief matches that state, you flip frequencies. You get on the frequency of your goal or the person you want to become. And then this activates all of the conditions and circumstances to actually help bring to you what you're creating with this vision of yourself, with this image. So, as I said, if you want to go deeper, I'm going to keep today kind of short and sweet. I want it to be practical, motivational, that the missing link between this idea of willpower and real lasting change is our brain. It's our self-image. It's our identity. And, in my mindset programs, we go deep into self-image and the standards we set, the philosophy we have about life. All of these things, the vision feeds the philosophy, and these things feed each other and ultimately our results. So I highly recommend Psycho-Cybernetics. Again, I'm going to keep today short and sweet, but it's really, tapping into the power of your subconscious. And I could talk for self-image for an hour. So that's why I'm kind of honing in. And I want you to know that true transformation, if you're seeking true transformation, it is not about forcing discipline forever. That's not sustainable. Forcing discipline, it's not sustainable. It's just not. It's actually about stepping into a new identity that makes health natural, that makes this other version of yourself natural, where it's not forced. You're rewiring the brain, you're affirming, you're mentally rehearsing, you're visualizing, you're taking actions until it becomes easier. I've often said, when we're used to not exercising, it's a struggle to develop that habit, right? And on average, 3 months, I would say, to really solidify a better place for a habit that you can build upon. I think in the studies of the brain and neuroplasticity, it's like 66 days to rewire the brain. So let's just bump it up to 90. Keep going with that. At some point, you'll get to a point where it's easier to eat healthy than not. At some point, you'll get to a point where it's easier to work out than not. And so, I was sharing some personal things last time, and I got to tell you, a little tangent here. If any of you have ever heard of a vulnerability hangover, it's when you share something like going on personally with you, and then the next day you're like, oh my gosh, like you just feel kind of sick. You're like, what did I do? What did I share? I felt that way after I recorded the last podcast. I felt that way by that night. It wasn't even the next day. I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't say this and I'm going to be misunderstood. I didn't say that. So they're going to think this. And I got into this old pattern of like, I'm going to be misunderstood. People are going to misinterpret. They're going to not fully understand what I was trying to say. Maybe they won't like what I had to say. They'll think I'm crazy, like worrying about what people think. And this is a pattern I've worked on for years. I relinquish being a people pleaser. I relinquish overthinking and being a perfectionist. But after that last episode, it came up. It was really interesting. And I had to kind of combat it. And I was like talking to a few members of my team about it, like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I should air this episode. So I didn't go back and listen to it yet. But what I want you to know is, like, for example, when I say it becomes easier, the example I gave with the cookie of like carrying the cookie around and really making sure I wanted it and that I was present with it. I don't do that all the time. That was an example of something I did as I was transforming and transitioning in a more extreme time in my life. But, I eat cake when I want to have cake. I have ice cream, when I travel with my family or sometimes not, whenever, if the urge strikes me. And so it becomes more natural to live in harmony. It becomes more natural. So it is harder for me now, I've said this before, to not exercise than it is to exercise. But that has been part of my identity for a long time. But that doesn't mean that can't become part of your identity. You have the power at any point to rewrite your self-image. And I really encourage you to do it. Write out the biggest, most beautiful self-image and put it in the present tense. I'm so happy and grateful that I'm calm. I'm confident. I'm someone who fuels my body healthfully. I'm trying to say, I'm just saying this off the cuff. I work out regularly and I'm in control of my thoughts and I reject things that don't serve me, whatever you're working on. Create a beautiful, big self-image. Look at maybe somebody that you admire and what are their qualities. And again, not about comparing, because imposter syndrome, back to that, is often like, you don't feel good enough, I'm not worthy, and we're comparing. Other people are better than me, they're further along, they know more. We got to let all that crap go. Let all that crap go. So I really encourage you to step into the new identity over and over and over again until it really does become who you are and it's natural. You already have, and I promise you this, you already have everything inside of you to shift your self-image. Everything we need is already within us. So the moment you choose to see yourself differently, your actions will follow. And the moment you choose to see yourself differently, everything starts to change. Anybody who's accomplished anything great in the world is because they believed that they could. They saw themselves in that place and they moved towards it and they kept that vision and that goal. So it's like the moment we shift our perception, the things that we're looking at change, right? And so we can do this with ourselves and we should do this with ourselves. All right. So I'm going to invite you to close, to reflect. What's one identity statement? And so ask yourself, what's one identity statement I've been carrying that no longer serves me? What do you find yourself saying that it's time to let go of? Let's rewrite the script. So what's one identity statement you're carrying that no longer serves you? And then ask yourself, what's one new identity I can claim today? What is one new identity I can claim today? All right. And share with me, DM us or share on social media this version of you, because you're putting it out there. You don't have to, but maybe the results of it, you could also share. And, I think that's where the term fake it till you make it came from. It sounds very inauthentic, fake it till you make it, but it's really about being that person that you want to be, that you know you are deep down inside, or that you esteem to be, and just own it, live it, be it, embrace it, and watch everything shift from that moment on. So thank you all so much. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me on this episode of UPLEVEL, Real Health, Real Talk. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take the next step in your health journey, one that nourishes not just your body, but your mind and spirit as well. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's episode, please leave a review. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep thriving. And remember, true wellness is a journey, and you are on the right path.